Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. Welcome back to the chart stream. Now, today is going to be an interesting day. I say that every intro. Okay, I know I say that every intro. But we've had quite a lot of movement since last stream. Okay. Not very nice movement. Let's just start this timer off right away. Okay, because today we are professional, as we always say. A lot of movement. Okay. We've had a big old movement. So we've kind of been talking about something bad happening, which is if we print below 80, I can't remember now, we'll get to it, obviously we'll get to the chart, 80 something. If we print below the gap we have on the weekly, this is bad news. We're not out the woods in terms of, we've not fallen into the pit of hell just yet. We do have one more stop. However, the likelihood is starting to weigh towards the negative, which is what we kind of talked about last stream, maybe the stream before, on the idea that if we can't hold certain, 89k area or 88k, 85k, whatever it was exactly, then it's the likelihood chance that we're going to be holding to continuously have support where we were, 85, wherever it was, we're probably going to not see too much positivity, aka the weekly print below that gap, which we have done below, which is not a good sign. We'll get into it, obviously. Hopefully you've all done considerably what's happened. Hopefully you've all had a decent time since last stream. Hope you had a good, few days, I guess. Not drunk yourself into the sorrows too much since last stream, obviously. It's not been a happy time lately. So as we can see on the screen, we have a lot of 24-hour liquidations. We can see about $500 million of liquidations of long, 300 of short. Now again, there's been some ideas of why this is spurred on. Capitulative movement, aka continuous liquidation on the way downwards. People have said, obviously this is spurred, from what people say anyway, from the new guy in town from Trump. I can't remember his name actually, but the signing of a new guy, basically. I can't remember, what's his name? Oh, I can't remember his name. Trump assigning a new guy, basically. I can't remember his name. But that's spurred a bit of negativity, apparently. Obviously, people say that's negativity. People said it's capitulative movement, liquidations on the way downwards, and all that sort of stuff. So, not a great time for crypto. Not a very happy time. But, I'm just here to give my opinion. Again, that's what, that's the main thing about these streams, okay? And this is what you guys need to remember if you're new, if you've been here the entire time, whatever. This is not financial advice, okay? This is just my opinion. I don't have any affiliation with anybody. I don't have anything of those sorts. This is just me looking at the charts in my own sort of manner, and if it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I do not advise you guys to trade against anything I talk about. Obviously, if you're on Binance Square, because I'm talking to Binance Square people, and YouTube, obviously, hello to all of you, I should say. You can go look at the coins as I'm talking about them, but again, make sure it's off your own volition that you do trade whatever. Anyways. Again, liquidations, about 500 million, about 300 on the short end of the scale, so about $800 million as a whole of liquidation. So some pretty nasty numbers there. I don't know, I can't look over the week. There you go, liquidation history. Yeah. So this is what's the community? Okay, so yeah, this is what I wanted to see. So this was 31st of January. So this is only like not too long ago, okay, like 2 or 3 days ago. We can see the cumulative long liquidations was about $2.5 billion, which is kind of not nice. Oh no, what have I? Okay, I didn't want to go to the October liquidation. I wanted to see over a period. So basically, this is like one of the biggest liquidation events of the last while. We had obviously 22nd of September. 3 billion. We had 10th of October, as everyone remembers, the D-Day of crypto, about 17 billion long liquidation, and then we basically have today, or 31st of January, which is about 2.5 billion. So that's kind of over the period of this has been recording anyway, which is about a year or whatever it is. Obviously, we can go back a bit further and look, but in terms of actual valuation, what is this one? I mean, this one wasn't really that high either here, but it was basically. This is one of the biggest liquidation events or liquidative situations we've had in a while. Anyways, that's the liquidations. Obviously, just want to kind of go over that quickly. Obviously, I'm not very quick when it comes to it. In terms of day-to-day, I just want to kind of see what's going on over the month, see if anything's interesting happening, impact on the market. I don't really care. You know what? I should filter by America. Okay. Oh, major. I don't really care about some of these people though. And America, I know this is. Okay, there we go. This is what I wanted. Perfect. I want to see America data. So we have February the 6th, have some sort of unemployment data. Again, this has effects. NFP data, does have an effect on the market. People do trade it, obviously, but it's not. It doesn't spur on movements for the rest of humanity. It's just something to pay attention to on the day if you're intraday trading. So February the 6th might be something interesting to watch out for. Wednesday the 11th as well. Could be a day to remember if you're trading. I've just opened up a window and I don't know if that's gonna. Open everything up. Perfect. That opened everything up. Perfect. Anyway, going to CoinMarketCap now. Okay. We are at 78.8 basically. So 1.5% up 24 hour, 10% down on the 7 day. Again, very down move for Bitcoin. Ethereum 2372, 18% down 7 day, 2.5% up 24 hour. Solana at 105. We're at our low points. What we've basically been talking about, and I will show on the charts as well, is we've had our support areas, we've had these gaps, and we've been holding support really nicely. However, my main thesis has been if we can't hold this area of support, because as we've seen with Bitcoin, if you've been in any of these streams, even though we printed at the low end of our gap, we were still using it as support because the basic manner of this, and you might be familiar with this if you do your own charts, if you look at highs and lows and print throughs and whatnot. Basically, to reverse an area, you have to print past it, basically. And then the conceptual idea is that this area could be an area of sell. Again, this is all theoretical. Most charts is theoretical and whatnot. So, take it as you will. But the idea is you print through it, it's then resistance, or you print through it, then it's support. Same thing here. If we print through the gap, it was going to be resistance. An inverted gap. That's just what it is, okay? And we have that now. And that's been what I've been saying is if we do this, this is not a good sign for Bitcoin. It's not a good sign. The only part we had was we've had a order block below us, which wasn't too strong a support, but it was an area to watch out for. And I think on the lower time frames, on the 4 hour, we have used it as support. But other than the last chance we have for Bitcoin is if we sweep past the low, the 74k low, if we sweep past that and don't print below it and start to go upwards, that's the only potential we have. From that potential, we have a weekly gap we have to go past. Okay, so we're not. If we print past 74k, it's not over, but it's not good. It's not good. I don't know. I don't want to fearmonger, but it's not good. It's not good. So yeah. So this is obviously what, like I said, this is what we have. Anyways. Syrup, I want to look at the last before we go to the charts, okay? Because again, I'm trying to keep it cordial today. I'm trying to keep it rapid. I might actually be early in an hour. My goal today is to be efficient, okay? I don't want to yip yap, okay? I'm just gonna look at the chart. I'm not gonna say any words I don't need to say. I'm just gonna look at the chart, say the important stuff, and move on, okay? Because again, I don't want to keep you guys. Again, I've done this stream earlier because I have some stuff going on later on. Okay, so I want to make sure that I don't take any of your guys' time too much up. Because again, I know I'm a yabba yabba. As I'm doing right now, I'm yabba yabbering. So I want to kind of... I need to slow down as well. I think this is the main thing. And just slow down my speech. And I'm going to try and have a bit of effort. Give a bit of effort into that. Because I know some people on Binance Square aren't native English speakers. And I talk too fast. And people don't understand me. So I will try to slow down. I do apologize. Anyways, okay, so Syrup. I wanted to quickly look at the Syrup chart. So we have 29.4. This is the one coin I've wanted to be going down for a while, and we are continuing to go down. Very nice. We will look at this obviously later in the stream. As you can see on the right side of the screen, we have what we're doing. Okay, we have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Syrup. Okay, I'm not looking at Crow. I can't be arsed anymore. I can't be asked to look at Crow. I don't like looking at Crow. Okay, I just don't want to look at it anymore, and that's it. That's all it is. I might look at it if I'm like, we've got 15 minutes left and we've looked at Syrup. I'll glance at Crow, probably go, haha, look at it. It's going down, and then end the stream. So I might do that. I might not though. So just to let you guys know. Bitcoin. Let's talk about it. So what have we had? We had this equilibrium. If I show up the ranges, I'll show you the range. Here we go. So we obviously have our equilibrium. We have our range here. We've talked about this previously in terms of using this area as a support resistance. The chart's getting messy. I'm going to unhide this. Or I'm going to hide this, I should say. So I've drawn it out as an area so we can see it in a bit more, a bit closer. We can see, obviously, the high and the low being used, basically, or printing within this range. Sweeping up one more time before printing through it. You can see we kind of printed through that midpoint, used its resistance, obviously came down. But that's not the main area we've been looking at, okay? We actually want to look at the chart, okay? So looking at the chart, what do we have? So my main concern for Bitcoin has been this gap back here. This was the super support. This was the support, because again, if we look retrospectively as to what we've been doing across, since, I don't know, since we started to go back upwards since 2023, basically, since we've had this long uptick till now, basically, we've had this nice uptrend, okay? We've had this nice period where we've had these retracements from the high to the low. We have this range, we retrace back below equilibrium, we find our support, and we pump upwards. We do the same thing here. We draw this across, that's the low here. We can see we kind of come upwards, we come below equilibrium, we find support, we tick upwards. This is the process we've had over Bitcoin since 2022. Same story here. Low to the high, retrace below equilibrium, find support. So what did we have here? Well, we did have this gap, which we could use again. It wasn't the strongest one, but you can see if we actually look at it, we did kind of use it in this one. We came up again, but it wasn't our main support. For me, the main support was about 89. We had this area. It was about 90k, 89, 88, this kind of mid area. This was the okay, cool. This is the okay, cool area. So we can see from this, let me delete this, we did print out that low. We did kind of use this. We did obviously come down, but this is in respect to the weekly. Okay, so we have our lower time frames where, yes, if we look at the 4 hour, we'll probably find support. Probably not the 4 hour, let's do daily here. We'll find support in these areas. So we have some lower gaps. We have some, order blocks previously, which you can see if we draw some of these areas across, for example, like this area, we can see this is kind of where we use the support. So relative to the time frames, we have different support areas, which makes sense. But if you're trading on the weekly, you're trading lower leverage, whatever, and you're trading for a longer period of time, you're still perfectly fine. So we had this support. We used it nicely. We start to go upwards. We obviously found resistance again. We have we go down until we have reason to stop going down. We go up until we have reason to stop going up. That is my thesis. That's not my thesis. That's just a phrase I like to use. So we have this area. Now the way this kind of functions is we use this area of support. However, the position in which we print past the low, aka print through this entire gap and reverse it, is the D-Day of Bitcoin. And you might be able to see. All right, if you just tilt your head right, okay, and you look to the right of the screen, you might be able to see this massive print just way below anything conceivable. Not only have we printed through this gap, we've printed a new low, a new major low. So, yeah, this is not good, okay, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is fine. Maybe this is what we want to do, and then we come down, and then we print, and we go back upwards, and then we go, even higher. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. But the idea that we have our highs, we come down, we have a lower high, and we printed a low. This is now not good. Okay, I don't care where this high goes. Obviously, in retrospect, I do want it to come upwards and then come down. But obviously, we weren't in a downtrend yet. We hadn't printed past major low. We then finally did that with this move, and obviously we've then retraced to do a lower high, and now we print to do a lower low. So technically, we reversed. And we are in this period, we have technically printed and started to have an official downtrend. Because yes, even though in this move upwards, we hadn't printed again. Printing past that major low is D-Day, like the super D-Day, I would say. Us printing past this low is very bad. The fact we've printed past this gap and we have resistance, we've also printed past here. This is bad. Also, if we go to the daily, which is what we've been talking about mainly as well, if you guys remember from my streams, we've talked about this range and coming upwards to find resistance here. And, looking at this, and again, up until about here, I've been looking on the dark mode, and I've not been myself. But now I'm back, and I'm on myself. And I'm back in myself, okay, on the daily. We can see this in a bit more clearer. So we had, this is a weekly gap and a daily gap here. So this area at 97 was a very strong area, 98k. So we had this daily range. You can see we've upticked, came past equilibrium. We've hit our resistance, and we've come down pretty low. This is normal structure on the daily, because we've been in a downtrend on the daily. We've been in a downtrend for a long period of time now. So this kind of makes sense. Again, we've only really just started on the weekly. Again, yes, we have printed past what could be argued as the low. We've already done it here, let's say. So yes, I suppose we've already been in the downtrend on the weekly. But officially, like a true print, we've had a actual down move to a low, a lower high, and a print lower. This is now, like in my books, is a non-deniable factor that we have officially done a lower high or a lower low, a lower high, a lower low. We've officially kind of done that. So what I've been saying is, I'll go back to it, and I'm reiterating, has been if we print past 86.6, or if we don't use this as our main support, what do we have left? We have these two candles. If we look at the most, the stronger candle, if you will, we had this candle, 82k, I suppose, kind of area. Goes to the daily kind of. We had that area over here. You can see, obviously, we kind of used once already. We kind of tried to use in this candle, but we've continued this kind of capitulation. What hasn't helped is the amount of liquidations we have accomplished on the way downwards, which will continue to add the sell pressure. Because again, if you're in a long, in order to get liquidated, you have to sell back. So as you continue to go downwards and liquidate more and more longs, as people think it's going to go upwards, you're going to keep on catching sells. So again, that's what capitulation is. Basically, it catches this point where there's so many long liquidations at every single level that as you continue to go downwards, you just keep on selling. You keep on selling until it exhausts. So basically, let's say from this low, we've been longing all the way upwards. We've been longing. So liquidations have been spawning here, let's say, and we've just ripped through all of this here. So at one point it'll stop. At one point we'll hit all these liquidations. And yes, you can see how strong of a move we've had here. We obviously had a big sell-off. We hit into a resistance where we hit quite a bit of a bit of liquidity at this 98k area. And then we started this reversal move downwards. And then in this kind of main period we've had right now, we can see this. And again, this isn't me making stuff up. We've been monitoring this on CoinGlass every time I've done a stream. We've seen the mass amount of liquidations. So it's kind of clear as day that at each one of these points, maybe past, especially when we have a massive move down and then we reverse massively back upwards. At these points will be very important, because these will be where a lot of longs will be. So coming past these areas and coming a bit lower, wherever it may be, the idea is we'll have liquidations there. And obviously we can kind of back this up by the idea that CoinGlass is kind of showing us the total liquidations we've had, because it monitors every exchange and records liquidation events. So this is kind of the process in which it happens. You have these massive lows, and past these lows where people are starting to long quite heavily and pile into the market, there will be liquidations. And again, we're in this kind of perfect storm where as you continue to move down in the market, you continue to hit these high periods of liquidation areas. So we'll either hit a point where we have so much kind of buy that it outweighs this liquidative kind of period, or we liquidate all these longs and these have all been liquidated, and then we finally have a free market. What I will say though is we have a balance between long liquidations and short entering. Now what gaps are, basically the market has moved so rapidly in a direction that has left these gaps behind where there's potentially still trades to be had. So that's why when we look at gaps, that's the kind of importance there. The theoretical idea is that there are trades still open to potentially be kind of validated in these areas. So kind of that's the idea that when you have a gap, there could be a lot of sell. So example, this daily, weekly, like this wasn't just a daily gap, this is a weekly gap. So on the way downwards, this is a area where sells have been, a mass amount of sells have been entered. Sell orders are still outlying, so when you enter back into these areas, the sell orders could still be filled again. Obviously, it's theoretical. Again, everything in charts are theoretical. But entering back into these gap areas, the idea is there's a lot of sell orders still at large, which can be filled once you enter in these areas. So, obviously, when you come into these gaps and you enter back into them, you hit a point where there's a lot of sell orders, and you come back down, right? So we have long liquidations and short entering. So we just need to hit, if we want to reverse, we need to hit a point where we have a mass amount of longs or mass amount of buy entering the market, which outweighs sell, or we need to exhaust all sell to then go back upwards. So what is that going to be? That's going to be a lot of, so for example, coming into areas of support, coming past lows, for example, will be buybacks, on the way upwards, for example. So obviously that would be in the opposite direction on the way upwards. So if there are also a lot of short entering, as a lot of people pile into the market, we could have a period where if we liquidate some of these shorts, we'll have a lot of buybacks, which will then allow the market to kind of reverse back upwards. There's that factor, I suppose, as well. Obviously, support areas being theoretical ideas of where a lot of buy orders are. So that's kind of why we've done this. That's kind of just a quick explanation as to why this has been such a devilish move downwards. Anyways, going back to the actual charts, and I'm yapping. I know I said I wasn't going to yap, but I am. we have obviously that area which we kind of have. We try to use the support, obviously not really too much. But apart from that, we have this low. Now, it's we have this low. Now the idea is, we can come past this area, either enter into buys from this low and use this area, I suppose. But that's kind of really it. You can wick past the low and use it as a kind of buy area. Like, for example, over here is a perfect scenario. We had this kind of low. We didn't really print past it. We wicked past it, and then we reversed. So, and you can see the response after we immediately wicked past these kind of equal lows here. We had a real quick move back upwards and a print positive. So this is a rejection block, for example. This is kind of where rejection blocks spawn from. When you have these lows, which you wick past, and you have, we have a massive, quite a good expansive move downwards. We then wick past this low and had a massive expansion move back upwards, which makes it look like we have this tiny little candle body. We look at this order as basically kind of like a gap as well, because on the lower time frames, we have this move which has gone so fast back upwards to spawn this positive move, where you then look to enter back into this wick for more buy orders and then go back upwards. So that's kind of the theory behind a rejection block as well. So obviously we can see we did that. We had this rejection block. We came to that midpoint and then came back upwards. So it's kind of the idea there as well. So we can do this, have this idea where we wick past these lows and kind of use these areas to fill and then go back upwards. So that's kind of the theory behind coming past the low and finding buys. So that's all we have. I'll just kind of explain as to why I think the low can be important. Obviously, some people say it's support and whatnot and whatever. That's it, okay? We had that area. We had the 89k range gap, or the 86 of the low anyway. We had that gap, and that's all we really had, okay? So the fact that we've printed past this gap is not a very good sign. We have this equilibrium here as well for this range. If I hide everything and show this, will this show? Okay, well, perfect. So I think it was this. We kind of had this range here. We kind of came above past his highs. And you can see we've kind of been using some of these areas on the way down. We kind of had this area. We were printing back above it. We've come down to this next level at 76. We're kind of printing. We have this area here. Now, what spawns in this area is going to be breaker blocks. So what do we have? Well, we have order blocks. These are now, the idea is going to be, these are going to be breaker blocks. So we're probably going to reverse this as resistance. As you can see, we've printed through this area here. At this 79.6 area. So we have a 79.6 area and the gap. This will probably be resistance. So we have these areas on the way downwards. Also, we have the midpoint of this area at 79.7, which we've obviously printed through. So these areas are, resistance areas. But each one of these lines on the way downwards should be a general area, not a general area of support, but kind of a checkpoint. So what do we have? Well, we have 72.6 as like a low area. We have this gap. We have this liquidity void area, and we can see we've spawned this kind of area of liquidity void, which is spawned from the area. So we can look at this gap, for example, as something to pay attention to, which sits directly in this range. So on the daily, we're probably going to see a run past 74.6, coming into this gap 72, and probably see a somewhat of support at 72.5, let's say, some of this area. This is kind of all we have left. If we don't do this, and we continue to print lower and lower and hold lower, and officially print past this low, within this week, basically, this weekly candle, maybe going to the next week's candle, are going to be very important as to the future of Bitcoin, basically. If we start to print past this major low, and we've had this, and this is going to show everything, isn't it? We've had this massive uptick. We've had this low, which prints past. If we see a print past this low, retracement, lower high, continue this downtrend, we're going to see lower. We're going to see towards, 60k for the low. Because we've hit into this high, we came to the extension line, we didn't print past it, fail, okay? And this is kind of the theory of these ranges. When you come past the high, you want to see it print past the extension line. That's kind of the very important. So basically this line, this 0.11 line, is the importance here. So you can see for this move, for example, we had a massive expansion move upwards past this area here. We also printed past the 0.11 here, which is a good sign to suggest, okay, cool, if we retrace, we'll probably see higher, okay? You can see we kind of came upwards. This is actually probably higher on the weekly, because obviously we're on the weekly here. So you can see obviously we've had areas where we've kind of come to the equilibrium, fought back down to this high, came upwards. This whole range is the equilibrium. You can see we kind of came upwards, fought at the midpoint, came down, found a bit of support, finally printed upwards, used this area of support, came down. We can see we printed this low here, and now we're at the bottom end. So we've kind of had periods where we've used it as support, the high end, and now we're printing through it. So we also don't want to see a print past 72k. So this is what I'm saying. A print past this low and a print past 72k, this area is going to be resistance. 87 for the midline, or 89 for the midline. We have this gap at this 86 area. There's a lot of resistance where we have here, okay? So we don't really want to see us come past this area. It's just, this is the last kind of moment for Bitcoin. And I expect this to continue across the market. I expect to see this in Bitcoin, in Ethereum and Solana. I expect to see that we are kind of at our wit's end when it comes to the charts. I don't want to see past this low. I really don't. But we have our kind of periods, okay? We do have our periods. So for example, going back to this range, you can see the difference between this range here and this range. Why we failed to print past here and why we continue to expand higher from this range is because we printed past that extension line. This extension line kind of deems if we're going to continue the range upwards. So basically, you can see we failed to print past this range higher, and then we reversed. This is obviously a very bad sign. We then had the equilibrium area here, so we have this is the equilibrium range. So you can see we kind of came to that midpoint, used its resistance, and we've printed past it. So on this range lower, we're very negative. So this area is going to be resistance. We have equilibrium at 89, 86. We'll probably see somewhat of resistance. So if we can't use this daily range down here as support, if we do print past these areas and find a print at around 72k, we're going to see lower. And that's not what I want to see, but it's what's going to happen. From there, what do we have? Well, we don't really have too much. We have somewhat in here, but the kind of main idea for these ranges is we have the high end, the mid, and the low. So we kind of have a sandwich, basically. We have high end resistance or support, mid area resistance or support, low end. So we've seen resistance at the high, we've saw support, we've now seen resistance at the mid. If we come down, 60k, this will be a next support point, you know what I mean? Which we've seen previously. If we kind of use this as support, we can reverse down here and start to come back upwards towards the highs. So this is like long-term stuff anyway. This is like longer-term stuff. This will spawn from if we print past 74.5 and we find something at 72 and we print past this on the weekly. This is us starting, a series of unfortunate events on Bitcoin. If we don't do that and use 74 and wick past it and use 72 as support and start to print higher, it's a good sign, but we have a lot to get through. So my outlook right now on Bitcoin isn't very positive. I should give some more prices, obviously. 86 to 89k, this will be resistance, okay? We obviously have the equilibrium. This is obviously the black area I have drawn out. I should probably hide it so we can see it a bit better. So obviously we can see the black range is what we have drawn out. Midline, again, 88k-ish. So we have this range here, 83, 93, 88. We have resistance here. So we have a lot of resistance above us. And again, the daily and soon to be the weekly, we've all started a downtrend. On every time frame, we've started a downtrend. So I'm not superbly positive. And how close we are right now to 74.5. If we start to print down below this level, come to 72.5 and print below it on the weekly, we might start a very bad move down towards some major lows, is what I'll say. Hopefully we don't do that. So what I want to see is a print on the weekly higher than 74.5 in this candle or next week's candle. I don't want to see any weekly candle print lower than 74.5. If we do so, and I explained this last stream or the stream before, the last straw for Bitcoin, because again, on the weekly, we have this range, low to the high, retrace back down to find support, and then go higher. What invalidates this is a print past this low. You can wick past this low and still go upwards again. It's what really determines if this goes well or not is printing past that 74.5k level. If we do that, it's over, but it's not over. It's not like we're going to like zero, but we're not going to go back up to highs again. You know what I mean? We're not going to go past highs. So that's kind of the situation with Bitcoin. I know this wasn't a very deterministic analysis. I know this wasn't very, I should probably go to lower time frames and look at some current TA. So for example, we've obviously looked at the daily. For this retracement, we have the high to the low, retrace, come lower. We've had this. If we start to reverse here, high to low, we'll probably see somewhat of resistance at 88k, which is 89k, which is also this weekly resistance. So we have weekly resistance, equilibrium 79k. We have this gap on the daily at 89k. So if we get 89, 90, 86, this is going to be resistance on the daily. Okay, this is also resistance on the weekly. So there's so much like potential that we don't go back upwards past this area. I don't want to see it, But the only way I could see us getting past this resistance on the weekly is if we wick past 74k, print higher than it a few candles, which is going to take, you know, two weeks, let's say. We need to see a consistent print above 74.5 and start to reverse on the weekly. It doesn't mean we're out the woods. We would need to print past some major highs at, you know, 97k, but it would be a decent sign. But again, if we see that print past 74k, I could expect a retracement towards 86k for some rebalance, and then we go lower, and that's just what it is. I don't want to see that. So we'll see how it goes. But again, either way, what I'm expecting on the daily, we have range high, low, lower high, lower low. We're going to see a lower high. That's just what it is. We're going to see it on the 4 hour. We're going to see it on the daily. Probably soon to be, maybe weekly, if we do see that. I mean, yes, the weekly, because we've printed past this low. So rebalance into this gap, 86k. You know, this whole gap here. We're going to might see a rebalance here, just like we did last weekly candle. And I talked about this last week as well. Let me bring that back. There we go. I talked about this last weekly candle. I said during the print between this candle and this candle, I said, okay, cool. We have this gap here. I could expect us to retrace towards 90k and then come down, which is what we did. Because you can go candle by candle and see these rebalances. So I can expect the same thing, maybe, obviously not financial advice. If we do see this wick pass, which we could see, we're at the lows now, and we have this candle, I would like to see a rebalance. You know, because if we do print this candle like this, we're going to have a massive gap here. We'll see a rebalance and go down again. So there's a lot of negativity going on, basically. But either way, just whatever this spawns, I do expect a retracement. I do expect a retracement towards 86k, 89k. This is my area for Bitcoin. So we'll see how we print. Again, this isn't a setting stone thing. I'm just showing you the potential. I'm showing you what the potential could be for Bitcoin. Let's go a bit faster now through Ethereum. I'm going to say the same story here. Again, low here, print at 2123. We have a major gap at the weekly. We'll still see support at. If we print past this low, 2118, this is the same story as Bitcoin. We have a massive rebalance area, 2786. We have 2387. This area here, I could expect a rebalance. Going for the range here, if we look at kind of the range for the here, we can see about 2187, maybe 6561. Actually, probably bet on the weekly. So we can see, yeah, here we go. I think this is kind of all right, I suppose. So we can see the usage of these these areas as support, especially the midlines. So we can see we kind of printed through this equilibrium here. So we have this equilibrium range. This is the range, okay? I can't highlight it. There we go. So this is the range. You can see us kind of using the high, trying to use the low, failing to print. You can see we reversed it here, came high to find resistance, came down, came to this midline here, resistance, midline support, finally reversed, came to the top, used the support, came up, found resistance. We tried to use the support, printed through, resistance at the midline, printed through to midpoint. So same story here. It's very similar to some of these areas. Okay, I should probably hide most of it. You know what? Let me quickly hide all this just so I can see. There we go. So same story with a lot of this. We have these areas where we kind of have these massive retracements, and then we come back to find resistance for a rebalance and come down. You know, same story kind of somewhere back here. We have these massive expansions, retrace to find support, came back upwards. So what I could expect for here, we can see we kind of had the high to the low of the equilibrium, printed through the midpoint, used midpoint of resistance. We've come to this midpoint line here. You can see we've used this a few other times. I could expect a retracement towards the low end of equilibrium, or low end of resistance of the equilibrium point, just like we saw here. I could expect that, so about 2.7, which is a perfect rebalance for this gap we have on the weekly. Same thing we said with Bitcoin as well. I could expect that retracement. We can't go to the daily here. What do we have? Well, again, you know, it's mainly that low here. We can see we're very expansive on the way downwards. We can see we've had this range for the daily. You can see we've come above that equilibrium perfectly fine. We've printed a low. So on the daily, I could definitely expect a retracement up towards, you know, you guessed it, that area about 2700, 2800, 2900 for this gap. So we do have valid area on the daily to have a retracement higher as well. So again, we are kind of at a support area. On the weekly, we want to kind of rebalance this candle here. We are also in this gap area. You can see we anything above this line here, you can see we've used this area once before. We kind of produced this gap area. We came into it here, came upwards. We've kind of come down into it. We could probably expect a move back upwards for a rebalance, daily high, all this sort of stuff. So 2800 I would expect for Ethereum for a rebalance higher. But again, my pinnacle, just like I said with Bitcoin, is going to be if we see a print and a move past 21.15, this is not a great sign for Ethereum. It's what I'll say, not a great sign. But you can see across the history of Ethereum how kind of good we've sat at this equilibrium. We kind of had this range, midpoint, equilibrium, resistance, kind of equilibrium high, printed through for the midpoint there, equilibrium, printed past equilibrium, support, came through equilibrium, printed past it. So we kind of have always been sitting at this equilibrium level. Whether we've been below it or above it, we've kind of always been in the balance of this range here. So again, I think this is just one of those periods where we come past it, within this, either this midpoint, this line, this midpoint, we have this area for support. And then from there, we've had, midpoint, this high, this midpoint at 5,000. So we do have the high end and low end of equilibrium here. So we're just below this equilibrium. We've used it as resistance. We've come down at midpoint. I can expect a rebalance. And then if we do see past 21.15, it could be as low as 1900 for the whole rebalance of this weekly candle here. So 1900 for a major low if we do see past 21.15. Again, the market could be positive and the market could wick past 21.15, see a massive buy influx, and then start to retrace again or go back upwards for Ethereum, for Bitcoin, for Solana. But again, we might not see this. I just want to temper expectations in the expectance that we have this major weekly print and we start to have quite a higher time frame negativity, basically. So going to Solana now. Here we go. So yeah, let me you know what, let me just talk about the ranges here. Again, I'm going to hide this as well. I kind of want to talk about the ranges just a bit more. Okay, cool. So this one's going to be, a 161 kind of range. So about 243 kind of area here. Let's see what we have going on. So again, yeah, same story here. Again, very good consistency to indicate we're going to go a lot lower. This is what we talked about with Bitcoin as well. You can see we're at this high end here. We're having a bit of resistance at some of these lines, this line here. But then, again, like I said, the extension line is very important. If you come past the extension line and don't print, so we can probably look at it on the daily here, you can see how many times we tried to get to the extension line and didn't print. This is a very crucial high here at 300. You can see we didn't print at that extension line. We start to come downwards. This is a very bad sign. Once you see that extension line and you print past it, and you can see we print below. Okay, I need to delete some of these so you can actually see. Go back to the daily here. There we go. So you can see this was a very bad sign. You can see we came to extension, found resistance at it, tried, failed. You can see we used that high as support in here. You can see we then reversed it, printed past this low, came up and found resistance. This is a very bad sign. Obviously, we don't. So again, just confirming that we are in this range. So we have this whole range here, not from zero. I don't want to talk about zero, but basically from equilibrium to the high here. It's kind of the range. We could go one range lower just to see it in a bit more detail to see what we have. So you can see if we went to the daily time frame, we would be looking at this range. Same story here. We can see we have this extension line, and it's very important on both ends. You can see once you print past that low, if we came down and then printed back up above this extension line, we wouldn't be here right now. But we did. Even though we didn't quite print past that extension line, we came to the previous extension line, found resistance, and then printed lower. Very bad sign, came down. So now we're in this range here. You can see we then came to this equilibrium point here, and then we kind of sat in this range. We worked past this high. We can see, okay, in this area we have fair value gaps. You can see this is the fair value gap range. We had a fair value gap in the fair value gap range. We can see we came into it, found resistance, came down. So what do we have? Well, we're in the 121 to the $80 kind of range here. You can see we're kind of sitting at this midline here. Sitting around about here so far, very similar to how we have on Bitcoin and Ethereum. If we go back to the weekly, you can see the lows about $95. So very similar story how Bitcoin has 74.5, Ethereum has 21.12, whatever it is exactly. Solana has $95. So what are we kind of doing right now? Well, we can see we are kind of in this range for breaker block. So we had this previous area here, which we were using as support quite nicely. We can see these two candles, use as support. We can see we've printed through it now, and this candle is within this breaker block range. So I can expect 105 to the midpoint. Let me just draw it out quickly. Kind of this range here is what I would expect. So let me just make this a different color. Let me make it purple, I guess. I don't know. So we can see this range. I could probably draw it to here, actually. It's probably better. So we can see this range of candles, which was an order block. A breaker block basically is a reversal of this order block. So now we're going negative. We're going to see this kind of negative breaker block here. What we have is we have this area midpoint at 120 as resistance and whatnot. So we can go to the daily here and kind of look a bit more detail. We can see this candle kind of survives in this kind of liquidity void area. So this whole move spans into liquidity void, and you can see this move upwards. What that is going to be is between these two purple candles, the two green candles, this massive down expansion. Let me make this a black. So what do we have? Well, we have this daily range where we've kind of had this high still low. We've come above equilibrium here, came to that fair value gap, and we've come down. So we have the same daily range we have on Ethereum and Bitcoin. If we look at it here, we can see this range here. So we have breaker block, $120-ish, whatever it is. We have this expansive liquidity void, which kind of spans these whole black candles. You can see this gap also sits at about 123. So in terms of what Bitcoin has, in terms of 86k, for example, Ethereum has 2800, 2700. Solana could be about $120. It could go a tiny bit higher, to be fair, towards 130. We have some areas here. We have a mitigation block, for example, here, where we've kind of we've had these two candles. We've kind of wicked past this high and came past this low. So we have this range here. Mainly this singular candle is what I'm going to draw here. So this is also going to be resistance at about 125 here. So we do have quite a bit of resistance there, is what I'd say. And, not to ignore it, we have the equilibrium. As you can see, we've had this range here for the innermost equilibrium, the midpoint. We've used it support multiple times. It came up, support, failed to print. This has obviously been the wider range for the equilibrium, where we've used it support. Even though we've used it as we came as low as 118, we printed outside of it. This is the bad scenario where we kind of came down, used the top end of resistance, and then came down one more time. So if I get rid of all this, this range is now kind of the entire equilibrium. You can see we've printed lower than it. So we have 121, 114. We have resistance with this equilibrium because we are now in the bottom end of this range here, between $80. So just like how Bitcoin has some of these low ends at 72, whatever it may be, Ethereum's got 1900. Solana's going to be looking towards maybe some of these low ends here at this. What I will say though is we have a massive wick coming into this low for a rejection block. So this is actually going to be an area of support, or potential support is what I should say. So I'm going to make this known to be blue. So you can see this RB is rejection block. So a wick spanning into this area. So what can we see here? Well, we have quite an expansive move downwards. We have a gap here. We can see we fulfill this gap and have a massive move back upwards with a smaller candle body. And from there, we can see we just continue to expand upwards. So we didn't even come into this area of support. So from there, we can see about $85 of support, high end about 91. So we do have support around about there. So again, like I said, Ethereum's got 1900, Bitcoin's got 72-ish, 71k. Solana's probably going to be within $92 is what I'll say. This is a good low point in terms of the weekly time frame. This is on the proviso that we continue this downtrend. We've had this print downwards, past this low, continuing. If we can print past these major lows, 72k for Bitcoin, 2100 for Ethereum, $95 for Solana, I could expect this $90 range, $85 range for a support point. But again, if we do print past this low and we do see this move downwards, we're probably going to see a major down move. We're going to see major moves. And what's that going to entail? That's going to be the wider range for the weekly, which was going to be, we can see we're already trying to print past this equilibrium. So this is the range for the equilibrium. We've come into this area multiple times. We've had resistance and we printed past it, and you can see we used it multiple times as support. So this is the turning point. Like I said, with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, we are at turning points. If we see print below 98 towards this low, we're going to be continuing the downtrend on the weekly, and this range will be resistance. So $99, 114, 121 will all be resistance areas. So what I'll see within this range as well, actually, is we kind of have a period. Is we have kind of these candles here, right? So what a breaker block is, again, is what would be a resistance turn to support, or what would be a support turn to resistance. So we kind of have this candle here is what I'm seeing. You can see a wick into this area, this whole range spawning from this $85 kind of area, I should say. So this candle is going to be quite an important one, potentially of resistance as well. So this whole area spanning about 99 to 114. This basically the whole range of this high. So this kind of backs up the idea that we have resistance coming past this area. Now we haven't quite printed, but if we can print past this area, this will probably be resistance as well. So we're starting to spawn a lot of resistance on the way downwards. we're starting to spawn a lot of resistance on the way downwards in pretty much every realm, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. So, yeah, this is kind of what I'm expecting if we do see these areas. Again, like I said with Bitcoin, either or, if we do print past this low or not on the weekly, what I will say and expect is this retracement on the daily spawning towards $122. So this kind of range, we have this daily range, lower high, lower low. We are going to expect that lower high, okay? That lower high is what we're going to expect across the board. So I can expect most things to have a bit of a retracement, expect a lower high, because again, we're in a downtrend on the daily, the 4-hour, every time frame. So if we do continue this on the daily and we are seeing this, then it's not a great sign for the weekly. You know, if we are continuing a downtrend and continuing to expect lower, this will mean us printing past $96, which is basically us printing past $95, which means we're printing past this on the daily. If we continue to stay at these lows, $85, we'll see that on the weekly. But again, like I said, if we see this with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, if we see a wick past this low and print past our resistances, then it would be a good sign. But you know, this is my current scenario anyway. This is what I'm thinking on the weekly. It's not looking great. This is on the weekly. I will be looking at this over the next period of streams. We do want to watch this and see how it goes. But you know, it's not confirmed, but it's looking likely. Yeah, Mike said 80 to 100 sol. Yeah, this is exactly it. We have this 100 sol support here at 99.6. We have this midpoint at 85 here. These are the two prices right now, 85, 99.6. Obviously, we have lower at $70. We have some areas there, probably on the weekly here. If we look, what do we have? Yeah, we kind of have the low end of this candle here, spawning this kind of breaker block area. You can see we use it as support once here. We can kind of see this range, midpoint at around $70. But I don't know if it'll get that low. Only time will tell though. So that's kind of my Solana. I do want to quickly give an update on Syrup though. If we kind of quickly go into this range here, we can see we're continuing this move downwards, which is what we've wanted so far. We can see we've officially printed past 30 cents towards 29. Our main target so far has been about 22, 21 cents. We do want to see, you know, past this low. We have started this downtrend, but again, what we've been looking at is a low to a higher high to a going to be a higher low within this range, and then we're going to go past 60 to 68 cents. So my Syrup, even though what we're doing across the market is very negative, I do expect high. I do expect a lot higher for Maple. I do expect towards 68 cents, let's say. So I don't have too much of an update on Syrup because again, I update it all the time. So, you know, we just need to wait for this to happen. Again, we also, again, we go down until proven otherwise. We do have this weekly range about where we are right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we've had this little high to low scenario. I wouldn't be surprised if we retrace up towards 32 cents for a lower high. You know, I could expect this. But either way, it's just going to be us going up to continue going back down again. 21, 22-ish cents down here is my main target for Syrup. Then I can expect 68 cent highs. I do think Syrup has potential to go a lot higher than where we are right now, and I'm just waiting for it to go down, buy some more, go to the highs, sell. That's really it. So Syrup, very happy. I want to laugh at Crow quickly. It's holding on. We haven't printed past the low. Because again, the main thing we've been doing across the board, which has been just very annoying to look at, is we have a high, we have a low which doesn't print past the low, a major high, a low back down here, another major high, a low back down here. So what can we expect? Can we see 44, 45 cents for Crow? Nobody knows. I'm not gonna lie, nobody knows. But yeah, I don't want to look at Crow anymore. I can't be bothered with it. It's just lower and lower and lower. So yes, but either way, that has been the stream. I'm happy with what I think is going on. 80 sol meaning Bitcoin at 74k. Yeah, you know, 74, below 74.5, 72. If we see these areas, if Bitcoin's at 72, whatever it is, 72.5, 73, I'm going to expect Sol to be around 85, $90. You know, I do expect that. Same with Ethereum, 2,000, 1,900-ish, as we talked about. These are my prices, okay? So we'll see how it goes, okay? I'll keep you guys obviously posted on my streams. I think now, I'm not saying anything set in stone because, again, we haven't done this just yet. This is what I expect to happen if we do have these print past these lows. If we wick past these and continue to print positively on the weekly above 74.5, then it's a different story. I'll keep it, obviously, refreshed. I will continue to talk about it on my streams and see if we are doing this. Again, if we're not doing this, I'll obviously let you guys know and let you guys know what I think if we don't do this, which is obviously going to be a lot higher. But that's what I'm seeing so far. Not very positive. Again, we've had a very negative period right now for Bitcoin. So we'll see how it goes. But again, I mean, this is what capitulations are, because not only do we have outstanding longs, but as we go down, people think we go back up again. People long, we get kind of capitulated again. It's just continuous until people start to think we're gonna absolutely. Okay, I know maybe I'm talking like the sheep here. Until people start to really think we're absolutely dumping, we might not go upwards, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If people continue to long as we're going down, and we continue to get liquidated on the way down, we're just gonna add more and more liquidity on the sell, because as people long, we hit sell stops or buy stops. We hit the sell liquidation points, or obviously buy stops that we get stopped out, or people get stopped out, I should say. We will continue to go downwards because people will continue to sell, even though they might be longing. To get liquidated is to sell back, so we'll continue to sell on the way downwards. So until people think, oh, it's over, which you know what, maybe I'm the indicator, maybe I'm people, maybe I'm retail, maybe it's over for me. But until we see a slowdown in mass long liquidations and mass longs, we'll probably continue to go downwards. But by the sheer gap we have here, I'll expect some orders within 84, 85k, within this range, 86k. I do expect that. So we'll see. Crypto developer, hello Crypto Warehouse, big fan, appreciate it, thank you. But unfortunately, my time is up. I have stuck to about 50 minutes for the stream, which I think is all right. So I think we've done it in good time. I think we've done decently. A decent, thorough amount for this. So, see how it goes. Thank you, all of you, for joining the stream. I will be back. What day is today? So it's Monday. Probably stream Wednesday. I think we might be doing Maple stream. Obviously, people on Biology can play along. I'll be back on Thursday. Yeah. So we have some. I have some recording to do as well with In the Trenches with Wolfswap, which will be very, very cool. That'll be uploaded soon, hopefully. I have some meetings with some other people for In the Trenches. So if you do like some of these interviews, then obviously there'll be some more coming out soon. So that's all I really have to say. I don't think I have anything else to talk about. I'll see you guys Wednesday for the stream, I guess. And yeah, hopefully, guys, you don't die before then or lose everything before then, and you can join us on the Wednesday stream. So good luck to all of you. Stay safe in these markets, these horrible, horrible markets, and I will see you on Wednesday. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you guys. See you in Telegram. See you in the streams. Thank you. Goodbye.